Hello everyone. In this episode we'll be speaking to a ballerina and choreographer. We'll be discussing the age-old question, is it talent or hard work that matters most? How can you deal with harsh criticism? And also how you can grow in confidence when you're having to grow up in a foreign land with a foreign language. And finally, of course, we'll ask our ChatGPT generated question. So I really hope you like this episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Publicly Speaking, the podcast endeavoring to make public speaking easy listening. Today, we have the privilege of having with us Xenia Wiest. Hello, Xenia. Thank you for accepting my invitation.
Hi, everyone.
And a little introduction. Xenia was a former dancer at the Berlin State Ballet and Hanover State Opera. Currently, she's artistic director and house choreographer with Ballet Ex Schwerin. And excuse my German, but she's at the Mecklenburgisches State Theater, and
Perfect.
she's one of the
Perfect.
yeah, good. Thank you so much. And she's one of the youngest women directors to lead a company in Germany. So it's with great pleasure that I have you on the podcast today, and I'm sure the conversation is going to be very interesting. And I would just like to ask you, first of all, how you came to be a ballet dancer and what your role as a director and house choreographer entails. What do you have to do in everyday life?
Okay, so there are two questions. I start with how I started. I started dancing actually very late. I was almost 14 years old. And I became professional dancer, also with only 2 or 3 years of ballet education. So I must have had maybe a little bit of talent and a lot of hard work invested. And because I come from a musician family, and I started in Russia to do a little bit of ballet and gymnastics, and but I really hated it. I thought ballet is super cheesy and this pink tutus, and I really didn't like it. I thought it's super girly somehow, like at that time, so, and then I just stopped. So I took the road of, I wanted to be a musician or a singer, so I was singing in the choir also. And then when we came to Germany, I was very interested in jazz dance, so I started with that. And then at some point my teacher, she told me, oh, you have a nice neck and you have long arms and you have a good groove, but you miss a little bit of like methodics, so like the school, so you should take some ballet classes. I was like, oh, I did it already, like I hated it. And then, like, very self-confident child. And then I started doing ballet classes. I did take the advice of my teacher, and then I really fell in love with this art form, and I loved the fact that you work hard about it. I like the fact that you're, I don't know, really kind of like giving yourself full into that and like sweat a lot. And so I stopped my choir lessons, my hobby. I stopped my concert flute lessons, where I was pretty successful actually. And my parents, they were devastated that I decided, like, with 12 or 13 years old to become a professional dancer. Because in Russia, you do it or you don't. Like, if you want to be professional, you have to decide it when you're really young, or your parents have to decide it for you. And here I was like with 12, 13 years old doing jazz dance, and then starting to take ballet classes. And then I said, I will become a ballet dancer. So against kind of like first the will of my parents, but then they saw that I was really committed and there was no way to take this away from me. And also, of course, I mean, the teacher with who I was working at the time, she came also from Paris Opera, and at the time she had a ballet school in Braunschweig. And she also told me, like, oh, like, you're too old and you're really bad, but I will give you 3 months of tryout, and if you make enough progress, then you could have a chance. Because yes, it's true, like your physicality, you have some talent to be a dancer. And yeah, I guess I did well in this 3 months. So I worked really hard, and this kind of like this mindset of hard working and this values of like having discipline and having commitment and dedication to the work, it stayed until today. And yeah, I was in this John Cranko school, which is one of the most famous in Germany. The first year when I was auditioning, I wasn't accepted. I was not good enough. I worked harder. And then second year I auditioned again and they accepted me. And then yeah, there I was, 3 years of education, and I became professional dancer. And I arrived after 1 year in Staatsballett Berlin. And I was there for 15 years being a professional ballerina, which, yeah, it was kind of like a very twist of my career because, yeah, nobody from my relatives, parents, or friends would expect that Xenia will be a ballerina, kind of. So it was really strange. But in the same time, yeah, I think I had a really great career working with a lot of choreographers and dancing many nice things. I danced many bad things as well. Well, it's like it is. And then also in I started to choreograph when I was 21. Yeah, no, 22. So also was a very young age, and it was just a hobby at the start. And I was developing it like, yeah, for a very long time. Now I'm 40, so it's been a few years. And yeah, and in Hanover, I wanted to end my career in a company that it's not Berlin, because I wanted to experience a different working environment and also different structure. Because if you're very long at the same place, so I was 15 years, you get used to things, you get used, of course, to the people and to everything. And then, yeah, I just wanted to challenge myself also to not do point shoes, point work anymore, point technique, the very classical technique, but a little bit more contemporary. And the director who was there by this time, Marco Göcke, I really love his work, and we worked before together in Berlin. So it was just like coming everything nicely together. And then, yeah, when I was about to stop, then came this beautiful opportunity to take over a company in Schwerin. And yeah, my transition was super fast. Like usually it's not like that. Usually, I don't know, you stop, then you make a different education or studies. And then, yeah, I think I've been really, really lucky with that. My idea was like to become only freelance choreographer and have a family. And then the family plans had to move to the side when this offer came. And then me and my husband, as we are working always together since 17 years on this project, like he's coming from a sports scientific background, and sport psychology. So we were very early on developing what can be improved in the dance world, what can be better with the direction also, etc., etc. So yeah, and then I decided to take over this job, and by now this is my third season, and it's almost over the third season. So and I also have to say that from the beginning of my directorship here, it happened so much and I already learned so much. So I think I also definitely grew like a leader, and I'm far away from where I want to be as a leader, but I'm happy to learn every day, and sometimes it's hard, but I will get there. I know that I will get there with consistency also and hard work. And yeah, so the second question to answer, like how my day looks like usually, it never ends. I I'm not one of the people who wakes up at 6 in the morning and does everything, because I have problems to sleep because I'm very active in my head. So I need my sleep, and usually I try to wake up like 8:30 or 8, and then the day starts when I really literally stand up. My head is already working. Okay, what is the to-do list? What are the priorities? What should be done? And it's really challenging because to be artistic director and to be choreographer are two different jobs. One requires a lot of empathy for the artists, which is the being choreographer, and it's also very self-centered and like emotional. And you have, at least for me, you have to be really close to the dancers, you know, to know them good, to create with them, because I'm someone who likes to work in a team, always to develop things together. And the other job of to direct, to delegate, is just so different. You have to think about the common good. You cannot put yourself in front. Yes, you have to direct, delegate people, to give tasks, and yeah, take decisions that not everyone likes or no one likes, but it has to be done because it's the best for the company, you know. So, and this is sometimes not easy, but yeah, usually I'm in the office, or I'm giving class, or I'm sometimes, if I have time, because I did a lot extra, I allow myself to take class to stay still fit and to train. And then yes, usually it's like many things happens parallel, which is administrative. So I'm checking mail calls, answering things, or like doing also networking, connecting with the people. And then, of course, then delegating things to my company manager, like do this, do that. Yeah, can you approach this person? And the artistic part, then I'm in the studio leading a rehearsal or creating. And I'm coming home, and I'm continuing working on the next year's productions, or I don't know, there's always something. It's never done. Like one thing is done, the next is already like pushing behind. So it's a lot. That's a lot. So
Well,
yeah.
you've said a lot of interesting things. Thank you so much for opening up and explaining all of this. I'm going to start with something because I've picked up on something as you were talking. It seems that there's a lot of honesty in your life. What I mean by that is you describe yourself as a self-confident child, and you told your parents straight what it is, what you wanted to do from a very young age. But you also described some of your teachers. I think it was the teacher that worked at the Paris Ballet, and you said that teacher told you were bad, but she was still going to take you for 3 months. And then you yourself now in your current role, you're having to tell as a director, you sometimes having to be honest about what needs to be done. So can you tell us a little bit about that? When's the first time as a child you thought you had to stand up for yourself and tell people this is what you're going to do, and what went through your mind at this point?
um I had to stand up many times as a child for myself, especially when we came to Germany. Because when we came to Germany, so we are like immigrants, you know, we came 93 to Germany. I was 9 years old, and I didn't speak the language. And by then I didn't understand what was happening in school, because we were, until we arrived in Braunschweig, we like my family, we were moving from one city to the next city to make the papers. Then we had to wait 2 weeks there, so it was like nomaden, you know, like moving around the country. And I had to change schools a lot. And actually I've been bullied when we came to Germany, because I was I had like braces. I had braces
Yeah.
at some point. And when we came like to Germany, like I was so overwhelmed from all this wealth, you know, and all this accessibility to have great food. I think I ate a lot, so I was a little chubby also. And in Russia, I was like super like this East child, you know, who
I
never.
I don't know if many people would describe German food as good food, you know?
I know, but like be you know, I don't know if it's difficult maybe to even to understand, because the thing is, when I was living in Russia, for me, the first time that I received we had a cooperation with the Dutch music school, you know, and then they sent us like sweets and stuff, and like my first Snickers, and or Twix, or I don't know, or Milky Way, it was Milky Way, I don't know. I ate when I was 8 years old, you know, and before I didn't know what it is. We didn't have that in Russia because it was just too expensive. Or like a Barbie doll. I also, when I saw original Barbie and not the Chinese one, like a copy, you know, I was like, oh my God, you know, so uh we didn't have anything, you know, so that's why coming to Germany, and here you have everything. You have
Yeah.
the possibility to have everything. So we're quite spoiled right now in general, you know, like
Hmm.
our society, we have everything and too much, you know, so sometimes we don't value things anymore. But by that time, I was like, oh my God, bread and sweets and that. So yeah. So I was a little chubby, and I had glasses. They were really fat, you know. So and yeah, I think I didn't speak the language, so I was a little bit bullied, and until actually I could stand up for myself, it took some time, because I remember in a school in Braunschweig, there was like a situation that was really actually like two girls like were holding me, and one girl was spitting on me, you know, and then actually I went to the school director, and I said that happened, and this was not anymore like just like insulting, and this was actually aggressive, you know. And yeah, after this, like, these girls never touched me again, and then I started also to kind of yeah, be more vocal and be more stronger. But to stand up for yourself, it's not easy, you know, because sometimes, especially like if you are in a group, you have sometimes the group dynamics that someone is maybe manipulating you, or like even if you have a different opinion, then it's difficult to, you know, just to stand up. It was much easier with the people like I don't know, my parents, because I knew they still love me, you know. And this is like, as with
Mm.
dance, it was more like my dream, and I knew that they still will support me if they see that it brings results. I mean, if it would be like a immature thing, you know, like I want to be this, but and actually there is no talent and there's nothing really to grasp, they would be like, no, child, sorry, maybe you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't become a lawyer or a violinist, you know, because this was also one of my ideas, because my mom, she was a violin teacher. So I was
Mm.
considering maybe to start to play violin, but no, no, she said like, no,
Okay.
you will not. So yeah, but learning by doing, I would say, was that, like, as more you stand up for yourself, so you are kind of start to know that there's a confrontation and there's a could be a conflict, but as more you do, as more secure you got. But it's never easy.
But the first time, so you said, for example, you went to see the director of the school because these girls had gone too far. What pushed you to say, okay, that's it, now I have to speak up? And as you said, after a while, you do it more and more and more, and you get confidence in that. But the why do you think at the beginning you were confident enough, or you became confident enough to be able to speak up?
I think I felt that was like so unfair, like this feeling
Mm.
of the F word. It's so
Yeah.
unfair. The like there was some like anger and definitely like feeling upset, but at the same time
Mm.
I didn't want to feel like a victim. Like, obviously in this moment I was a victim, but I really didn't want to be a victim, you know. So
Mm.
I was like, I don't know how to describe this feeling, but there
No, it's
was
good. Yeah.
like rage and this yeah, feeling of like that's so unfair. This is no go, like it has
Yeah.
to stop. Yeah. So it
Okay.
was a lot of anger too, and fear also. Yeah, fear as well. Like was a mix of like fear, anger, and maybe like, okay, it's enough, and it's so unfair. So I would say.
All right. So let me get it somewhere else because you're saying so many interesting things. So my head is going everywhere a little bit. So I'm just going to try and keep it organized a little bit. When it comes to public speaking, a lot of people feel that you can only be a great speaker if you got some sort of talent. You know, you were born with the ability to be able to express yourself in an enthusiastic way and in a way that attracts people. When you talked about dancing and you talked about the fact that you came to dancing a little bit later on in life. I mean, it's only 13 years old, but I know as a dancer that's really late. But you also talked about talent and you talked about hard work. How much would you say when it comes to dancing, how much would you say is down to talent and how much is down to like graft, pure hard work?
It's not 50-50, as is what I used to think maybe before. I think maybe 40-60 or even 30-70,
In
because
favor of?
hard work.
Yeah.
Hard work and consistency and commitment, and definitely love for the work, because I think if you don't love to dance, like really love, like because it's your passion, don't do it. It's way too hard. It's not so well paid. It's the career is way too short. I mean, of course, it depends about what kind of dance we're talking. I'm talking always, like, of course, about really the highest level of excellency, which is the classical school, because it's the most demanding, it's challenging, it's really unnatural for the body. So I'm not talking about pure contemporary dance, because I'm sure maybe as a contemporary dancer you could have also much longer career, but as a classical dancer per se, I think if you don't love it, don't do it, because then you're going to be unhappy. You have to be happy because you can dance, and whatever you dance, it makes you happy, and I think many dancers in general, or let's say not every dancer loves to dance. Many dancers love to be important, or love to be the principal part, or the big role, but
The
like
main show.
the main show. Yes, because also this art form, it's very self-centered, so.
Mm.
And yeah, it's artists are more like inside of them, but also like self-centered. So um there's
What do you
not.
think is a better motivator?
What is a better motivator? The
Yeah.
love, the drive, and the engine to the love for your work. Because, for example, it's not always that you can be the first violin on stage, that you will be the one. It's not a one-man show. Sometimes you dance in a group, but you need to love your craft, this work,
Mm.
the dance, like this, that your body is moving to the music. You have to love and enjoy it, and then you will be happy. And then things come, and sometimes you dance more, sometimes you dance less, but in overall, you really have to have passion for your work. Otherwise, it's just not gonna work. It's just too hard, and
Mm.
also, like, maybe I have for myself too high demands or high standards, but I learned, whatever you do, you should do it like the best you can, So for me, a mediocre way, it's not functioning. So I prefer than not to do it. So I want to be the best possible choreographer, or like the best possible director. And I know for this, you always need to work extra, or to do something extra to be the best. I mean, it's also like in elite sports, if you want
Yeah.
to be the best athlete, or in any discipline, or the best manager, You will have to do more than others besides. And then if you have the talent, wow, then you can really be like the top, you know. But if you have the talent but you don't like to work, then it's not gonna work, you know, because with
Yeah.
alone with talent you're not gonna achieve anything. Nobody needs talent, you know. You need people in general that they have talent for their job. It doesn't matter which job they do, but then also that they can grow in this profession, that they can develop themselves, they can like flourish this talent. And this only comes with discipline, commitment, consistency, and hard work,
So
you know.
you look at yourself as a grown woman and you look at yourself as a child and you said, right, I had some talent. Okay. I can already pick up on one of your talents. You seem extremely driven, and which is as a dancer must be very useful. But how would you describe the talent that you had as a child? What is that talent you're referring to?
um I mean, first of all, I was ambitious always.
Right.
um I hated to lose. I still do. So ambition for sure. And many times my teachers told me this also in the normal school, and then in the ballet school they put it kind of like it's a bad thing to be ambitious, which, yeah, somehow it was hurting me at this time. But now I'm like, no, I am ambitious, point. That's it. I want to achieve things and I love what I do. So before, when people were saying, oh, are you doing again, are you still dancing in your free time, are you going to make another workshop in the summer, I felt bad. They made me feel bad, you know, that I work extra in my profession in my free time. And now I don't feel bad. I say, yes, you should too, if you want to, right, to achieve something. And maybe another talent, which it's maybe my musicality. I guess it comes from the family background.
Right.
This is another talent. Maybe the talent to create movements, or like to, or maybe not the talent to create movement. I think I'm creative, like in general.
Okay. Yeah.
Like it's not just for the steps. Like I like to create, and somehow I have sometimes good ideas. Sometimes.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So, what would you say to someone who really likes dancing, who's motivated, who's ambitious, but perhaps doesn't necessarily have the musical ear, or they don't necessarily are as creative? Although I think one goes with the other. I think if you're creative, you might want to, like, I don't know. But what would you say to somebody that's not necessarily got that, but still wants to dance? What would you tell them?
Um, I think it's very difficult to say it like in general, because you have to
Mm,
analyze each case, to be honest. But like there is so many factors, because yeah, you like to dance, great, dance, that's fine. But
yeah.
what is the purpose? Do you want to be professional
Yeah.
dancer? What do you want? Do you
Hmm.
want to do classical? Do you want to do contemporary? Like there's too many factors
Variables.
that count, yeah, to give an answer, you know, that would be just like black or white. You know,
Yeah.
I definitely, for me, like in my opinion, it comes down to um if you don't have like the full package, because this job is just so hard. It's such a strong competition, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm talking right now just about the classical, yeah, so at least I can give maybe one more specific answer to that. But clearly speaking about classical, there's many factors that counts, you know, the physicality, the aesthetics,
Yeah.
your height, you know, your arch, the shape of your
Hmm.
legs, you know, so your physical conditions like the turnouts, the external rotation, you know, the flexibility. And if per se you don't have that, which this would be like the physical talent, I already would not even go for the talent of musicality or creativity, because for the classical ballet, this is like the first criteria that you
Okay.
have to bring on the table. But Then for contemporary dance, if you want to be contemporary dancer, then this would not be a problem. So, and you still can be professional.
Yeah.
So I don't know,
So
but definitely because I think it's maybe there's a big discussion in general right now in the society about, hey, everybody can be a dancer. I don't think so. I really don't, because not everybody can be a professional manager. Not everybody can be a solo pianist. You have to have the skills and the talent, because otherwise nobody needs to be professional. We all could do everything, but I can't. Like, I cannot do your job. I totally am bad with numbers and not so, like, really not good in digital stuff. I'm getting scared when my Mac says like something is going wrong. I'm like,
yeah, I get
so
it.
yeah.
And you talked about earlier on, we talked about honesty and you being an honest person and having to sometimes tell people straightforwardly what it is they perhaps have to do, or what it is they're not doing, or what it is they don't have, perhaps even telling someone they don't have any talent sometimes, I don't know. But you've had to deal with that. You've had to deal with teachers telling you, you're not doing this, you're not good at that. Or how do you deal with criticism?
But you mean criticism when I have to tell it, no? This is what you
So
mean.
now I'm talking when you've had to receive it, how do you deal with it?
Oh, when I have to receive it, I receive it every day still. So I learned how to deal with this. I learned also that the constructive criticism, it, even if it hurts, and it always does, it always hurts. You don't like to hear it, but if you're humble enough to take it and understand that it will make you better, or like it's not good enough yet, but it will make you better, or it will help me. Also, it depends from who it comes from, and yeah, you learn to accept, and you learn from that, and then do the next time better. That's it. So,
Yeah.
but it's a
Yep.
practice. It's a practice as well.
Yeah, I mean the reason I'm asking is as a public speaker, um, you often I keep saying, you have to rehearse a little bit, like, I mean, not to the extent of ballet, but there's a lot of rehearsing involved, and you have to watch yourself again, again and again. You have to look at yourself, and you have to be also self-critical, and you also have to let people tell you, people who've watched you talk for half an hour, and then afterwards they might come to you and they'll say, I didn't like what you said there, or I didn't like the way you said it there, or I don't like the way you present it. And you have to be open to the criticism if you want to get better and better and better. And I think it's probably the same in the dancing world. You have to watch yourself over and over again, and you have to let others watch you and criticize you. And I don't know if you agree, but I find that you said you were self-confident, but I find modesty is very important at this point. Not just to know what it is you can't do, but always thinking about what you can do, and not always being down on yourself, and knowing and be confident enough to say, okay, I can do all of these things already, but this person has now said that I can't. It's okay. I can do all this, and I'm going to now try to work on this. Because I find a lot of people who lack a bit of modesty and are not very good at accepting criticism, it's often because they're down on themselves and they're like, I can't do this, and I can't do that, and I can't do this, and I can't do that. And so when you come and say, you also can't do that, they take it really badly, and they can't take the criticism, and it makes it harder to progress. Whereas if there's a bit more confidence, and when they look at themselves, they also concentrate on the things that they are good at and they can do. Eventually, when somebody comes along and says, yes, but you can't do that, it's easier to take. What do you think about that?
I think also it depends on a person, because like ballet dancers have a special mindset, so
Okay.
it's a very different mindset than maybe from a person who, let's say, grew up in a like a, you know, normal school, had normal friends, which way the word normal is, I don't know if it's completely correct to use, but I mean, like, you know, the ballet life is just so different. It's kind of a microcosmos, you know.
Okay.
You most of the times you're like busy with yourself, you know. The dancers are usually are not, of course, I don't want to throw everyone in the same pot, but they're not like connecting easily with all the people like from outside. Usually it's kind of like you're always between your colleagues, among your own colleagues or dancers or other dancers, but um it's not so often that dancers have people from like friends from outside. Of course, some, yes, but a lot of the dancers are always like very much like with their group, so they are not so open, you know. And I think it's really, it comes case to case, because some dancers are unfortunately not modest at all, and they think they know everything and they know better, you know, and they don't like to be told anything because they're professionals and they're great. So for me, this is like no go. But there are people, there are dancers like that, and there are also dancers that is the opposite. They're good, but they're not self-confident, and they
Yeah.
think they're always bad, you know, even if they're good. Like it's like a paradox, you know. And then very mature dancers, then they see, okay, what are the weak points, you know, but they also see what are the good points, so they kind of like can reflect on both, and they're aware
Yeah.
on both. So these are the people, but they're not so many, you know, because in general also it's an artistic profession, so it's very emotional, you know.
Yeah.
So sometimes things are being taken much more personal that maybe a person who is not working in the theater, you know. So sometimes it's more emotional thinking than rational thinking, you know. And emotional thinking comes because it's always about me, the artist, you know. I'm the center, the world is around me, you know. It's never like, okay, let's observe the situation, maybe it's not only me, you know.
Yeah.
So it's really different. Like you have
Yeah.
to, I mean, also in my company, we need to treat like the people and giving how we give corrections, and also how we talk to them. Everyone is like, some people are more sensitive, some people are super cool with everything, you know, and they like to receive attention and get corrections. And some people don't like to hear that they're wrong, you know, and they like to question the authority.
Mm.
So it's there's all kinds. And that's the challenge.
Yeah, and you have to deal with it. Yeah.
Yes.
But I think what I wanted to say is, and I think you said it quite well, since you have people that are lack of modesty because they think too much of themselves, and they're difficult to criticize. And I think also there are people who lack modesty because they don't think enough of themselves. And
Mm.
they're also difficult to criticize, because when somebody's always down on themselves and criticizing themselves, you then have to go and say, well, yes, that you're not doing right, but you are doing everything else correct. You know, it's on both sides of the art. It's very difficult to criticize people like that. And you're right, it's very rare to find people that are right in the middle, where they're okay with what they can't do and they're okay with what you can do, and you can talk to them freely about it. So how often do you have to, like, stand in front of your dancers or stand in front of an audience and express things, express perhaps your ideas or express what you want them to do? How often do you have to do that in a structured way?
So I, each time that we have a show in the big house, I always do the presentations. It's kind of like an
Okay.
introduction for the show. And usually this is being done by a dramaturg from the
Okay.
theater, but because we don't have a dramaturg for the ballet, I have to do it. And actually it's not normal, but I took it for me as a challenge, exactly to practice this, because as a ballet dancer, you're not used to talk, you know. I like to do it because I was playing in the drama theaters like a lot when I was like younger. I liked really to act and stuff like this. So I took the challenge because I was like, okay, as a director, you have to be able to talk, because I know many directors, they cannot talk. They're like, and I think as a director, you're a public figure. So
Yes.
it's only could be better for the company if you can talk. And yeah, so I'm doing this every day, every time that we have a show, which is every time it's a challenge. And every time I'm nervous before that. Before I was practicing like the whole 15 minutes speech, what I'm saying about the piece and presenting it and now like I'm giving myself the challenge. Okay, so this year you had that, so now you go only with the headlines, you know, and then you go with the flow, which I think in general, maybe this is another talent, but I don't trust myself yet in this too much. Actually, if I'm not super stuck what I have to say and I have to improvise, I'm much better than I have to like if it's like fixed thing.
Yeah.
So I can speak much more freely and explain sometimes better, and some things comes like naturally if it's not like everything like written down and I have to learn it by heart. So but this is sometimes a challenge, because if I'm start to be nervous and then sometimes I do mistakes in German, you know, and then when I get like too anxious, then it's just bad, you know. So but yeah, I think I'm getting a little bit better in this, and people are coming, people like it. So yeah, and you know what, it's not my profession, so this is kind of like thing that it's distressing me a little bit, because I try to take away the pressure, because I'm always thinking, okay, it's good that I'm doing it because I want to challenge myself. I know it's good for the company, but it's also not my primary job to be a public speaker, you know. So I'm not hired here as public speaker. I'm a director, and actually I'm a choreographer, you know, so at first place. And yeah, so this kind of like helps me to relax and then just go with the flow, you know. So I speak about the what's happening behind the curtain and how we started to create, and why I had this idea, and things like that. So yeah, and
So
in front.
sorry, go on. Now, how do you prepare yourself when you have to stand in front of the audience? How do you prepare yourself?
So before, like I usually always have a word also with Alberto, with my husband, because he's really good also in structuring the things. Or I ask sometimes help from Delphine Mousseau, which is also my friend and my leadership coach. And yeah, and so if I don't know, I ask the people who might know.
Great
And
idea.
then yes, I make a structure. I give something from myself. I organize what I want to say, and then I go through, and then sometimes, like not sometimes, each time I also practice like a little bit, even if it's ridiculous, but I practice. So then, you know, you can practice like, but then if it's without voice and you stay in front of the audience and your lips are dry, you know, and because you're excited, then didn't help anything just to go it through in the head. So I need to literally like have a try and make a mistake and then have a try again, and then kind of like, I don't know, practice and failure kind of method. So
yeah, I mean, it sounds like you've got the method already to be a great public speaker. I think it wouldn't it would probably be. I understand why people like coming and see your shows. That they probably like the introductions that you give and explain. Very good.
they like, but
so
and also like many say they like, and but really like for me, I'm really anxious before, like I'm nervous, like my adrenaline is quite high, so I actually don't want to do it. Like I want to run, I want to escape, you know. And then when I did it, like I'm thinking, oh, it wasn't so bad actually. Oh, I even enjoyed, you know. But yeah, it's not something that that it's like, okay, whatever. So I need to prepare myself for that.
Well, I think you see, this is interesting because you talked about adrenaline, and adrenaline is an amazing drug. I mean, it's the best performance enhancing drug you can find on the market, right? And it's the one we produce ourselves. And I don't know if you would agree with me, but I'm pretty sure that when you're about to go and perform as a ballerina, as a dancer, you will also get a rush of adrenaline, but you
Mm.
are able to control the effects of it, and it makes you a better dancer. The difference is, as you said, when you get that rush of adrenaline as you're about to talk to people, and that's not perhaps your what you prefer doing, then the adrenaline has all sorts of different effects because it is the fight or flight response, right? And you're thinking at this point, I prefer running away. But after, as you said, if you do it often, you'll get that same feeling, that same rush that you get for presenting and for dancing, because the adrenaline can have these two antagonizing effect. Either it's going to make you sweaty and shaky and make you lose your words and everything else, or it's going to send loads of blood to your head, make you think on the spot. It's going to open your pupils so you can see better. It's going to give you this enthusiasm that you don't normally have. So it has a bit of a double-edged, it's a double-edged sword, really, adrenaline. And I
Mm.
think, as you said, like preparation, it's so important because it's decisive. It's a big part. It plays a big role in deciding whether adrenaline is going to be your worst enemy or your absolute best friend. And when you've done that effort to prepare yourself, I find that when you come in and the adrenaline kicks in and you can actually feel the rush. And at this point, if you're prepared, you're enjoying the rush. If you're not so prepared, that's where, you know, the
Mm.
nerves kick in and it starts being very annoying.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it is like that. Yeah.
yeah. So I have a question because we often I've got so many questions, but I've got to try and I know we haven't got forever, so I'm going to try and ask this one now. I like to ask a question that's so I have a chat with ChatGPT. I try discuss with an AI. I said to the AI, you know, I'm having this choreographer, this director, this ballerina on my show, on the podcast. I'm going to ask her some questions about this and that, and then do you have a question for me to ask? You know, what kind of question do you think I should ask her? You know, the one question you think I should ask that person. And this is what the AI came up with. So I'd like to ask you a question if you don't mind. So it says, many people see ballet as a form of nonverbal communication. How do you, as a choreographer, use movement to convey messages, emotions, or stories without relying on words? And what insights can public speaker draw from this approach to enhance their own communication skills? That's a tough one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's like related to the public speaking enhancement, like
Yeah.
but I think for sure, like if I just to connect to relate immediately to the public speaker, maybe also definitely not to be afraid to use the body language, because I think this also, the body language, it also brings the audience maybe to kind of like also follow you, you know, like I don't know,
Mm.
if I speak in general, I use so much my hands in general, you know, or like also like when I say, like if I say something, I'm kind of like moving my body, you know, or like I'm, you know, like this is your body language saying so much, you know. If you lift your chin up, it's something more of a proud thing, you know, like already like all of the people, if you see them on the street, they're all like this, so they are very protective, you know. So this is kind of like a protection, this is proud, you know. I don't know, it's, you can read the body language. So I think this could maybe help everyone who speaks in on a public, that makes it more authentic. Maybe that, because you know, if you see like the politicians, you know, like of course, because you have to be like very like I don't know, stiff. well, what is exactly that? So it's just stiff, and they deliver the message. Like, first of all, I don't understand anything because it's kind of like this politician language that I'm like, where did this sentence start? And then it's just kind of like, yeah, I'm not following. Instead of like if maybe a politician is already talking like, with some language and some, like eye
Hmm.
contact, that's somehow making a big difference, or if it's the intonation, it's also different, like you take the people with you, you connect with the people if this is what you want, of course it's
Mm.
the purpose is always like the most important thing. And I think with the dance, and this is also kind of like in my vision as a choreographer and also like for the company, for me, what I think, what it's great about dance is that I think that this language doesn't have any borders because it's without words, it's only your body language. So yes, you can connect actually with the person from Korea and the person from Mexico, and they can be in the audience and they can feel the same thing, if I talk to them through my body, or
Mm.
like the dancers, and I think that's so great that you can actually connect people through dance and through choreography. And I mean, people go to disco to connect like in any kind of way, there are thousands of
Mm.
people on the dance floor, like
Mm.
try to connect the groove and the mass, so I don't know, it's connecting.
Yeah. I like the fact you talked about authenticity. It's true that I think when you're authentic about what you say and you're enthusiastic about it, gestures will tend to come easily, and they will be in tune with what you're saying, what you're expressing. And this
Mm.
goes with well, I think it goes with, you've got a beautiful quote on your YouTube channel. By the way, if you want to follow Xenia on social media, I'll put all your social medias on the comments. So please go follow. Xenia brings a lot of beauty in the world with her work, and please go have a look at what she does. It's beautiful. So, but there's a quote in there. It says, "The truest expression of a people is in its dances and its music. Body never lies." And that's a quote from Agnes de Mille. What do you mean? Well, why did you decide to put this particular quote there?
Because it's like that.
Okay, yeah.
It's just like that. That's why, because I didn't want like to be myself, quote by Xenia, try to be like a guru of
Yeah,
what.
okay, yeah.
Oh, and I was just like looking for quotes, I think, scrolling through the net, what could relate to my vision or my values, or like what I want to say or what I want to express. And I felt very connected with this, because I do think if something is honest, you still will have people who love it and who hate it,
Hmm.
but at least uh, it's true, so the ones who really will like it, they will really like it, they will love it, so. And I don't know, I think to if a dancer is authentic and honest on stage, somehow it's so the audience, they feel it, they feel the honesty and the when someone is genuine, so even maybe they can say, I didn't like so much the piece, or like I didn't like the subject, but but the dancers, or like the
Mm,
steps, or how they did it, it was just so genuine and so authentic.
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I in general, I think I'm somebody who I prefer like be better direct, and not like I don't know, sometimes diplomacy is tricky, because you never know then what is then the truth somehow, because of everyone trying to be so diplomatic. So
Yeah.
yeah, but
Okay.
sometimes for me that's definitely a challenge also to be sometimes diplomatic. I know I have to be sometimes diplomatic, but yeah, sometimes it would be easier to say the things straightforward.
So when do you decide? Because that's really interesting. as a public speaker, sometimes you come and give a training or you coach someone, and you know you have to decide when you have to say things straightforwardly. So when do you decide, okay, now I have to speak true, I have to speak straight, this person has to understand my message? When do you decide that?
It depends on the subject. I think it depends
Right.
also on the weight of what I have to say. Like again, what is the purpose of what I have to say? And
Mm,
I don't know how important is like now.
important it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
So
excellent. All right, so the last part is usually a self-reflective part. You've already done a lot of that, so thank you very much. But I have the last two questions, which are basically about. For the first one is about self-reflection, which is when you give a presentation at the beginning, for example, of your show, or when you express yourself in front of your dancers, your company. If somebody was to be part of that company or part of the audience, um, what would you say they would say you have to work on as somebody that communicates to an audience? What do you think you'd have to work on?
I think the audience probably would say that I could sometimes speak a little slower. This is what my
Okay.
mom told me last time, that I should not rush. And also, like my company manager, he also told me this. It's good, but don't rush. You want to have it over. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
So I need to kind of like breathe, and like don't try to rush, I think. So this was the feedback, that's the plus that could be better. And I don't know, from the dancers, I don't know. Like last year someone said, but that's the thing, like it was never said in my face. It was always saying kind of like maybe behind my back or something like that. But that I'm too strict, but I think I would, it's absolutely not like that. I actually, what I would give myself as a feedback when I speak in front of my dancers or workers, that I'm saying exactly what I need to say without overthinking too much what they will think. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the same that I am, like when I'm self-confident,
Yeah.
Xenia, that
Hmm.
I have so the same way of talking. And this is also something that I'm definitely working on, because yeah, but I mean it just comes also with the development and growing, like also how you are as a leader. Like
Yeah.
the first year I didn't feel comfortable at all to talk in front of the company, like and also I was maybe still too close to the dancers, so I was still kind of like one of them,
Mm,
because I just stopped being
yeah.
dancer myself. So I feel super connected with them. And then if it's too much of like too close of friendship, kind of
Mm,
like where they start to think, hey, you're the bro, or like a buddy,
yeah.
it's difficult to give not criticism, but like for them it's difficult to accept, because
Yeah.
hey, we were just like having such a great time in creating, and now you're telling me I'm not working hard enough, or like I should take off my shirt, or like I don't know. So yeah, but I'm learning with that as well. So
Are there techniques that you used as a dancer to calm your nerves before you get on stage that you use now as a when you have to speak up in front of an audience?
yes, the breathing techniques for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm using, like breathe to calm the heart rate down, because that's the first thing that makes you calm. You have to establish your breathing, which also I learned from my husband, like different tools, techniques, how to like decrease your level of stress or the anxiety. And it starts with the breathing. So
Good. Okay,
yeah.
yeah, good. And then, so more positively, what would you say, like if somebody was to come, either in your audience or your dancers, what positive thing would they have to say about the way you express yourself?
About the audience, I can say that I think they really enjoy, because sometimes I do mistakes, and then sometimes I'm also saying like, oh, I'm so nervous, or like I do some joke, and they always, what I hear a lot, they say like, oh, you are so charming, and like even with these mistakes, haha, or like it's very cute, or I don't know, it's very, you can see the love for your work. So this is usually what I hear from the audience. From my dancers, I don't know. I don't hear.
But what
I
do you
don't.
think they would say?
I'm ambitious, they would say, probably, and that I love what I do,
Yeah,
probably.
okay.
I
Which
hope
is
so,
very
but
important.
they didn't. I don't know. Nobody said to me. Maybe somebody would say some to another, but to me, face to face,
Yeah.
nobody said anything like, "Hey, Xenia, like nice speech, nice pep talk," or like I don't know. So no, it would be
But
great. It's
do they
would
give
be,
criticism though? Do they give you
yeah, but
negative
not in my
feedback?
face. Yeah, yeah, but not in my face.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Xenia, I've had a wonderful time. I would like this to last a lot longer because I've got a lot of other questions, but hopefully we can do this
Next
another
time.
time.
Yes, yes,
Thank
yes.
you so much for accepting to do
Thank
this.
you.
As I said, in the comments I'll put your social media. I encourage people to go to your Instagram and your YouTube channel. There's a lot of beautiful things to be watched there. So please have a look. I'm very grateful for you having come on the show, and I hope
Thank
we get to do this again sometime. Thank you so much.
you. We will. Thank you so much.